Hello again. Today I'm going to show you some of the things I'm doing with betting bots to keep them running at their peak. A few things related to system performance, a few things related to bot performance. So let's get started. Firstly, how I manage Windows updates. Windows updates are a real nuisance. Now they're very important, but they're also an incredible nuisance because Microsoft, in their infinite wisdom, decided with Windows 10 to make it much harder to control when Windows does its updates. Back in Windows 7, you could tell it, I don't want you to update anything until I tell you to do so. With Windows 10, they decided that, well, we'll let you pause the updates for a couple of weeks, but then we're just going to do it. And I found that even if you use those settings, sometimes Windows decides, no, this update's really, really important, and we're just going to restart the computer anyway. When you've got bots running 24/7 and you're off doing other things and the system's just running on its own, you don't really notice that, once in 3 weeks it suddenly decides, I'm going to restart now. Not until a couple hours later when you see that there are no bets being placed. So controlling Windows updates is rather important. Now with Windows 10, if you have the professional version or the Windows 11 professional version or one of the Windows Server editions, you can adjust settings in group policy. If I could just go here. So there's a number of websites which show you how to adjust group policy. And you can either disable updates completely or set it to what I would suggest, which is the notify for download and auto install. That setting will basically nag you about updates that need to be installed, but it won't do anything until you tell it to do it. In theory, I have seen it on the occasional instance where it just decides to install them anyway, which is annoying. So I actually have a different option that I use, a little tool called Windows Update Blocker. Now this is not something I would recommend for anyone to use on their main home computer because you want Windows updates to run. This is something I only recommend using to control when Windows updates run. So with this one, you can pretty much just disable updates. And once you've done that, Windows doesn't do any updates. You will need to manually come back in, enable updates, check for updates, install updates, restart once every now and then. Now Microsoft's release schedule for most of their updates is the second Tuesday of the month, so you might want to set aside a little bit of time on the Wednesday or Thursday of that week just to do some updates. I have found with this particular application, because of the way Microsoft changed and protected their Windows update settings, when you re-enable updates with the Windows Update Blocker, you need to go and restart the computer before Windows updates will actually run. I have the Windows Update Blocker just in a folder just here, and it's pretty simple. I'm going to want administrative privileges probably to run. Which is to be expected because it is making some important system level changes. Now, normally I'm a little bit hesitant to reluctant to recommend tools that make sort of very deep system level changes like this one when there are options available to do it yourself through the registry editor or the group policy editor, but this one I've been using for a while. It seems fine, it seems safe, I haven't had any issues with it. I can't find any reports online of anyone having any issues with it, and it seems to just do its job. Plus it does avoid those problems of Windows updates just magically deciding, despite your settings, that they want to run. Also, if you're not comfortable editing the registry or group policy, this is much simpler and potentially safer, I suppose. So that's that. When I'm scheduling time for Windows updates, I try to do it at a time when there's not going to be much betting activity that I might want to be involved in. So, of a morning, the UK dogs finish at around 9 a.m. That'll change shortly with daylight savings starting in the UK and ending here, so it'll be a little bit earlier in the morning that will happen. And then Australia-New Zealand racing tends not to start till, depending on the day, could be 10 a.m., could be 11 a.m., could be midday. So there's usually a nice gap where there's no greyhound racing, no horse racing. The trick there is soccer, if you're betting on soccer. There was actually a match listed here for 10:30. I've unticked it, and in the next reload it's disappeared out of the list. But what I would do normally is I would work out when I want to do the updates. I'd probably work this out the night before, and then I would go through and start unticking events that might conflict with that schedule. So if I've got greyhounds finishing at 9 a.m. and horse racing not starting again until midday, for example, then the only thing I need to worry about is the soccer. So if I want to do updates at 9 a.m., I'm going to probably untick the 7 a.m. games, because although they should be finished by 9, if Betfair's a little slow in resulting them, they might not come through with results till 9:15, 9:30, depending on the league. Most leagues result pretty quickly. Some small leagues take longer. So I'd probably, anything from about 7 a.m. through till about 10 a.m. I would untick. You don't need to untick all the way through the amount of time you think the updates will take, just the amount of time it's going to take you to start doing the updates. So that way I clear out that window. Those bets won't ever get placed. I don't have to worry about those bets being in progress at the time. This is a bit of a personal preference that doesn't really make a difference to the way the bots work, but I like to be able to see what the bots are doing at a glance when I open the screen. So I try to arrange the bots so I can see the main profit status of each bot at a glance. So it does require a little bit of Tetris almost to arrange them that way, but this has worked. So at the moment I've got 4 bots open. I've got the Fave Money bot at the top left, the Lay Grey bot top right, Lay Pro 88 Football bottom right, and the ANZ Horse bot bottom left. And you can see the profit stats there for Fave Money bot, Lay Grey bot there, the Soccer bot there, and ANZ bot here. So they're arranged so that I can see them all. That's the way I like to keep it. It makes it easy when I open up the screen to just see exactly where things are up to. And then if I want to look more closely at any of the bots, I can just click through to them. Then when I'm finished, I make sure I've got everything arranged again like this. Now, depending on which bots you're running, the game of Tetris to try and get them all aligned so you can see the key stats at a glance. It takes a little bit of work, but it only takes a few seconds. Next up, occasionally, maybe once every few weeks or so, a bet can get stuck in the bot. I check on this daily. Let's have a look and see that. Occasionally, the bot will place a bet, and for whatever reason, Betfair won't respond with the result, or the bot doesn't understand the result properly, or the bet never gets placed but the bot thought it got placed, or just something like that. It's rare. It happens once every few weeks, maybe at most, but you might find occasionally that you get a bet that gets stuck in here for hours and hours. If you check your Betfair on the website or in the app, you'll see that the bet isn't actually active anymore. It's just stuck in the bot. Now, this is a problem when this happens because it's tying up one of your tabs. So if it's in tab 1 here, for example, which is my main tab in use, then all of my bets subsequent to that have been spilled over into the next tabs, which interrupts your sequence of bets. If you're, most staking plans, unless you're just doing level staking, most staking plans rely on the previous result to work out what the next bet should be. So it does tend to interrupt your bet sequence. So if you do get a bet stuck in here, you just come in here, double click on the side here next to the bet. You'll get a pop-up message asking you if you want to cancel the bet. Yes, you want to cancel it. It disappears over here into the cancel bets tab, which you can see is empty as well. And it frees up that tab to continue betting. As I say, it's rare, once every few weeks, but it's worth keeping an eye on because it will interrupt your betting sequence. So I'll just have a quick look through them all. There's nothing in that one. I don't think there's anything in here, and I doubt there's anything in here either. No, all clear. As I say, once every few weeks at most. Memory usage is something that I do like to keep an eye on, and depending on the environment you're in and how much RAM you have will depend on how much importance you need to place on this. But generally, the bots do slow down just a little bit when they use more memory, so I like to keep track of that and restart them when they do get up there a bit. What you'll probably find with the bots is that the longer they're open, the more memory they tend to use. As they use more memory, they tend to slow down just a little bit. Not too much, but just a little bit. The ones that have the option to show log, I keep that turned off. That slows down memory usage to start with. It also prevents the bots from slowing down much. They slow down much more if they're constantly keeping their log tab updated. Some bots use memory much more quickly than others. LayGraybot does like to use its memory fairly quickly. I mean, 400 megabytes in I don't know how many days now. It's been a number of days. I don't know, 4, 5, 6 days. It's not a huge amount, but depending on how much RAM you have available in your system, it's something to keep an eye on. Now I'm running this at the moment in a virtual machine. So my memory availability is a little constrained. It's actually a 4 gigabyte virtual machine. The base system it's running on is actually an old Mac Mini that's got 8 gigabytes of RAM in it. I can't really allocate more than about 4 to the Windows virtual machine without the underlying operating system becoming a bit slow and troublesome. Obviously, most systems have more than 4 gigabytes of RAM. 8 is kind of the minimum you'd see these days. So memory usage probably not as much of a concern for most people as it is for me, but nonetheless, I do find that as the bots use more memory, they do tend to slow down a little bit. So as they get up to these sorts of numbers, LayGraybot's at 408, FavourMoneyBot's 289, LayProFootball's 286, I'm probably at about the point where I want to restart the bots anyway, just to bring their memory usage down and keep them running optimally. So I generally check that once every couple of days or so. There's not really any need to check any more than that, and some bots you really don't even need to worry about that much. ANZ Horsebot, for example, that's been running since Thursday, I think, in its current instance. It's at 55.2. It barely uses any, and it doesn't grow much, so I'm not really concerned about that one. I may restart it every now and then anyway, just for the sake of it, but I actually have another point in time where I use as my benchmark for restarting ANZ Horsebot, and I'll get to that later. So memory usage is my biggest concern with running the bots continuously. So in this case, I'm definitely going to want to restart LayGraybot, and seeing as I'm in the process of doing that, I might as well restart the other two anyway. Tab management is an important part of maintaining efficiency and profit. I do that a little bit differently depending on the bot and depending on the strategy, but let's have a quick look through that. Tab 1 is where your main bets are going. Depending on what you've got enabled, bets may overflow into tabs 2, 3, 4, etc. Each bot has this set up a little bit differently, so I use the tabs a little bit differently in each bot. But in some bots, you can set profit targets per tab, profit targets overall. If you have the continue box unticked, that limit actually acts as a hard limit. So I use that where possible because I find that having sort of realistic targets set gives me good time frames and good targets to then work out, do I want to revise my staking at the end of this sequence? Is it time to restart the bot? Well, yeah, if you've used up the tabs, yes, it's time to restart the bot anyway. But it's a good time also to restart the bot and to just bring memory usage down a bit, keep everything running smoothly. In this case, I've got for the ANZ horse bot with my system where I'm running stop at a winner staking to get 25 cents profit per winning bet. I'm running a profit target of $5 per tab and $25 overall. I have all 10 tabs enabled. But the maths on that is pretty simple. I should only be seeing the first 5 tabs get used. I'll probably see the 6th tab get used because you do get a little bit of overflow. So if tab 1 is in progress with a bet, then if the bot has another bet to place, that will overflow into tab 2. Likewise, if tab 2 is then busy as well, tab 3 will get the bet. As the tabs complete their target, so this one made $5.25 of profit, tab 1 gets closed off by the bot, and tab 2 becomes the main focus of activity with bets overflowing into 3, 4, 5, etc. as needed. So you can see they all continue to go through. At the moment, tab 4 is at $4.50, so it is probably only a few bets away from making its target. Tab 5 has had a little bit of overflow. Not much, just a little. It's up 31 cents at the moment. So I expect that tab 4 will reach its profit target. Tab 5 will get the majority of activity. Tab 6 has had a bet. It wasn't a good bet, but it had a bet. Tab 6 will get a handful of bets as well. And when the bot reaches the $25 target overall, it will stop betting. So it's at $20 today, $20.09 this morning. So that's probably going to be hit today or early tomorrow. So I'll keep an eye on that, and then I'll restart. In fact, it's at $20 now. I might as well just go through the process of stop, clear, restart anyway. So we'll do that in a sec. Now the ANZ bot with the targets that can be set per tab and the overall target, when it reaches a target in tab 1, obviously betting moves into tab 2 as the primary tab, which means that even though tab 2 starts off as the overflow tab and maybe a little bit slow, and sometimes the overflow doesn't have as good results as the main tab, because it eventually becomes the main tab, it counters any slow activity that may have been there by taking the majority of the activity and having that opportunity then to get into a profitable position. So I don't have to actively manage the tabs particularly much in the ANZ bot. Some of the other bots don't have that sort of setting, so I do have to be a bit more particular with how I'm managing those. So let's have a look at those. Fave Money bot works a little bit differently. It allows you to specify which tabs are active for which strategies. This is a little bit different. Some bots, the tabs are activated as an overall thing. Some bots you can specify, back 1 will go into tabs 1 and 2. Back 2, you might decide I want it in tabs 3, 4, 5, whatever. With this one, I don't have to worry so much about profit targets, but and you can see that this system hasn't done so well in the last few days. I'm actually going to make an adjustment to this today before betting starts again. Tab 2's done okay, tab 1 not so much. If this was the other way around, if tab 1 was happily in profit, but tab 2 was not, then I would probably look at disabling tab 1 and letting tab 2 be the main focus of activity, just to recover a little bit in tab 2. Obviously at the moment tab 1 is the one that's needing some work, so I'd leave it active, but at the same time This strategy hasn't quite gone as well as I thought it would on paper, so I'm actually going to make an adjustment to it. So we'll come back to that in a sec. Lay grey bot, same deal really. It's again, I have with the strategy I'm running, I have all of the tabs active. Tabs 1, 2, 3 tend to get a bit of activity. Tab 4 not so much. I'm not seeing any particular reason why I would want to disable any of the tabs. At the moment, I'm actually only running the lay 1 strategy as per my previous video. I turned off the lay 2 strategy in the previous video, so lay 1's at $105 profit. Lay 2 was at $12.97 when I turned it off. I haven't cleared it since then, so it's just still sitting there. But yeah, there's no particular reason for me to want to do anything here. But again, if you can see at the moment, tab 1 at the moment, it's in quite happy profit. The staking's up a little bit. It started at 50 cents. It's up at 240 at the moment. It's recovering a little, but if it was the other way, if tab 2 was up in the 2s or 3s and tab 1 was down at the base stake of 50 cents, I might want to turn off tab 1 for a little while, let tab 2 get the bulk of bets to recover. And as I get closer to some point in time, probably I tend to look at my staking more so on a fortnightly basis than on a day-by-day basis. So if I was getting closer to the end of my fortnight and I decided that tab 1 was doing all right but tab 2 wasn't, then I'd probably turn off tab 1 and let tab 2 try and recover towards the end of the fortnightly cycle, just to help the tab recover, boost the profits a little bit. Tab management, I find, is very useful in this way, that you can sort of concentrate where your bets are going depending on how the tabs are going, because they each run individual sequences. The Lay Pro Football bot, this is where the tabs are really handy. Now, I haven't really given much details on the strategy I'm running yet, but I'm happy with what it's doing. Soccer is a little bit different to greyhounds and horse racing in terms of bet volume. You get a heap of bets on the weekend, and quite often they overlap with each other. During the week you tend to get one or two, but they often don't overlap with each other. So in this case the tabs come in very handy. I'm actually running this bot with all 20 tabs enabled, but the strategy I'm running tends to run maybe 2 or 3 bets at a time at its peak periods, and most of the time runs about 1 bet at a time, maybe 2. I think I did see once over the weekend it ran 4 at a time, but there's not much. You can see here, bearing in mind tab 1 is sort of the main tab and tab 2, etc. You can see I've obviously closed out tabs 1 and 2 some time ago, because all these bets are happening in tab 5 onwards. I've been managing this more or less on a day-by-day basis, but sometimes checking on it a little bit more often than that. I've given myself a target of $1 profit per tab. In this case, I think I did see it when it hit the dollar, but it had placed the next bet before I had a chance to stop it. So that bet ran, it got to $1.50, then I turned the tab off. Tab 2 got to $1 and I turned it off. Tab 3 started off with a negative result, so I had to let it run for a while. I didn't quite catch it when it hit the dollar mark there, but I did it $2.02, so that was good. This one I didn't catch when it hit the dollar, and its next result was a negative one, so I had to let it run for a while, but it got there, $1.20, and so I turned it off. Tab 5 I've had running for a little while. It met its target yesterday. Oh no, the 10th. Okay. I think I did see that yesterday. Just this Brighton Nottingham Forest match was in play at the time, so I didn't turn it off while the bet was in play. I turned it off after that bet finished. 243 profit. Tab 6, same deal. Tab 7, its most recent bet got it into profit of $1.30. So now I'm going to disable that tab. Tab 8, it reached its profit a while ago, so I turned it off. Tab 9, it's still recovering. It's currently down 20 cents, so I'm going to leave it on. Tab 10 is up 50 cents, so I'll leave it on. 11's down 320, leave it on. 12 hasn't had a bet yet, and if 12 hasn't had a bet, then the rest won't have either. Overall, at the moment, it's sitting at $9.55, but I'm running a strategy at the moment which doesn't get many bets. So, and it's 50 cents starting stake. I mean, I'm still testing it. It's pretty clear to me that this starting stake is actually very low for this strategy, so I'll boost that at some stage. But for the moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it run through probably until it reaches the profit in the 20th tab, and then, or end of the betting fortnight, one or the other, then clear it, restart it. There's a little bit of a process I go through when I'm restarting the bots, depending on whether I want to reset the staking or whether I want to archive the results and start afresh, or whether I'm just restarting it for the purpose of memory management. So let's go through that. This is one of the reasons why I don't like Windows updates running automatically, because not only do the bots not restart by themselves because you have to log into Betfair, but when Windows does an update, sometimes it just forces applications to close. And I've found that it doesn't give the bots enough time to close properly. When these bots close, they do a few things. They all of these results in these tabs, they write them out to files on the hard drive. They also write their current status out in terms of where they're up to in staking, what their current profit level is, all of that. All of the settings they write out as well. If they're forced to close prematurely before they've had a chance to write that all out, you lose days worth of data settings. If you haven't if you haven't closed the bot since you last changed the settings, you lose that. You lose where you're up to in profit. You lose days worth of results out of here. Makes it much harder to, well, one, you lose where you're up to in your staking sequence, which is probably the most important thing. Two, you lose that results data, which is a goldmine in terms of trying to figure out how your strategies are going. If you don't have that data, and if you're running, especially if you're running multiple strategies across multiple bots, you try and piece that back together out of the results you can pull out of Betfair. It's not a fun experience. So, in terms of closing the bots, in this case I'm going to do a close and reset on the ANZ horse bot. That $20 of profit, as I said, it will probably reach 25 later today, maybe early tomorrow. I might as well just do it now, seeing as I'm here. If you're just stopping and restarting the bots, that's simple. You just stop the bot using the stop button on any of the tabs you have active, close the bot, then reopen it. Simple. You don't really need to do any more than that. If you are resetting your staking, you're clearing out results, or there's a few things you can do, and I actually do recommend you do this every now and then, just so that the bot doesn't have to keep weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and months worth of data in memory when it's open. Helps to keep it running a little bit faster. So what I'm going to do here is reset ANZ Horsebot. So the only strategy I'm running in here at the moment is lay one, so I'm going to stop that there. Give it a few moments to stop. There you go, the button has turned green there. Next thing I'm actually going to do is clear the profit and staking sequence. So you hit the clear button there, the bot notes that you've done that, and you see the profit jumps back to zero. If you go to any of the tabs, profit is back to zero. All of these results are still sitting here. I want to get rid of those as well, at least out of the bot. I want to keep those results. I actually do find that they're useful to go back to sometimes when looking at how certain changes to strategy might work, or even just graphing how the results have been going. But I can close this now. give the bot a few moments to write everything out to disk. There we go. All of that data that the bot has saved lives in a folder. Now I have a shortcut on the desktop just to make life easier, but you can see it's on your C drive, program files x86, and in Profit Sports Betting. And each of your bots that you're using will have their own folder in here. So I'm looking at the ANZ Horsebot, and each of those tabs, so the All Results tab and each of the individual tabs, get saved out as their own CSV file. So I'm going to select all of those. And Windows thinks I'm right clicking when I control click on that, which I'm not, but anyway, okay. And control X to cut that. So you can just delete those if you don't want them. I like to save them. I made an extra folder in here called Archive, and I have it sorted by year, by month. We're in March now, so, and then whatever the date is when I'm saving these files. So it's the 12th of March today. And let's move all of those into there. Now this means that those results will no longer be sitting in the bot. We cleared the results anyway, so we cleared the staking sequence, so those results are irrelevant to the bot anyway, but it does mean it doesn't have to reload them when I reopen the bot, which saves just a little bit of memory. And when you're looking at the new staking sequence, if you're scrolling through the results, you're only looking at results that are relevant to your current staking sequence. And I think that makes life a lot easier when you're trying to see results. So I'll just so I'll reopen the ANZ bot. I keep a shortcut to the bots that I'm actively using at any time. I keep them up here on the desktop. I actually have another side where I put other bots. I'm actually not using the Saw Greyhound spot just at the moment, so I should actually just move it over there. There we go. And we can tidy these up a little while in here. I still have these bots installed, and they all have their uses. I'm just not using them at the moment. I'll probably come back to them at some stage when I have some strategy that I want to work with in them. And I have a few strategies that I do use in these that, I do rotate strategies a little bit from time to time, so I'll come back to those, but I'm using these ones primarily at the moment. So the ANZ Horsebot, we'll reopen that. And naturally, once you do that, you have to log into Betfair again. And once you do that, the bot will reload. It will load all of the events that are coming up. Let's give it a few moments to do that. And I might as well move it back down into its corner down here, which seemed to fit it quite nicely. Now, I was using lay 1, so I'll just keep in a lay 1 races visible here. Go back into the lay 1 strategy here. And if I just have a look at the results here, you can see it's all completely clear, blank slate, all happy. Now I'll just double check everything here looks right. It does. There are one or two bots where a setting might not come back in. You might just have to re-enter it, but that all looks good, so I'm going to start that there. The Fave Money bot is not that one. Fave Money bot is that one. This one, as I said, I'm going to adjust the settings here a little bit. So it'll be a stop and clear and archive. So stop, clear, There we go, it's managed to clear that out. I'm actually going to change my settings now because I know exactly what I'm changing them to. I always suggest if you are making changes to your settings, it's a good idea to stop, close the bot, reopen it, because that way your settings are saved out to disk, and when you reopen them, they will still be there. So I'm actually going to change this. Instead of being 2 to 299, I'm going to make this 3 to 499. And the favorite can be up to 499 as well, that's fine. I've just found, looking at results here, that with the Fave Money staking, if you're running at particularly low odds, you need a number of successful bets in a row to counter a bad bet. And as you get later in the staking sequence, they become more important. Whereas I ran some numbers on some results I had out of the ANZ horse bot for this odds range, which I was running on stop at a winner staking with limited success. I ran those numbers as if it had been using the Fave Money bot staking system, and I found that although the strike rate is obviously lower at this odds range, the handful of winners you get, a win here overcomes many bad bets. If you're in a bad spot in terms of going down into a loss position, a single win in a lot of cases is enough to get you back to pretty much break even, and then another win or two is enough to hit your profit target. However, I did run those numbers, and again, as I've discovered previously, Saturday, not a great day for this particular type of strategy. In fact, Sunday didn't look too good for it either, so I ran the numbers without Saturday or Sunday, and it actually looks pretty good on paper. So I'm actually going to try that and see how it goes. So that's all set there. So I've already cleared everything, so I can just, that's all set, so I can close this, let it write that out to disk, and then once again, we'll go into here, Fave Money bots, and same process. Grab all of the CSV files. There we go. Cut them. I haven't been using this long enough to set up an archive yet. We'll do that. So I'll just set that up now. I like to keep this organized. I did originally just have it as a list of folders with date stamps on them, but it does tend to become a little bit unwieldy after a while, so organizing it into month and year makes it just a bit easier to navigate and see what you're doing. While we're here, so that's done. While we're here, log files. Remember I said turn off the display log function in the bot if you can. The log files all get saved in real time out here. This is something you don't have to close the bot for. It's saving these all the time, so you can always come into here and look at the log to see what it's been doing. So have a look at, say, yesterday, for example. I can see exactly what it's been doing, when it was doing it, why it was doing it. I don't need this to be visible in the bot. I will only leave the display log function enabled in the bot if I'm actively needing to see it in real time, because it does update and scroll through in real time in the bot. So if I need to see why it's doing things in real time, then I'll have it active there. Otherwise, I can just come into this folder here and see what I need to see. The bots run much better when you're not having the log display in the bot itself. Right, so that's that one done. And I'll just reopen this one here. And again, I have to log in. So go. Usernames at Betfair are case sensitive, which I sometimes forget. And I go and type in my username and password. The password's correct, but it's the username that I've got slightly wrong. Right here, so that's the Fave Money bot reopened. You can see it's clear here, it's clear there. All of those results are gone. The strategy I'm using here at the moment, I have tabs 1, 2, and 3 active. I'm really only seeing activity in tabs 1 and 2, or at least I was. I actually expect I'll get a few more bets on in this odds range, so I'll probably see tab 3 get a little bit of use as well. This is where I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful in terms of managing which tabs are running. So if tab 1 is doing particularly well, but tab 2 is needing a little bit of recovery, I'll turn tab 1 off and leave tab 2 on, and things like that. We'll see how it goes. Because this isn't a quick staking strategy, stop at a winner, you get a win, you're done. Your staking restarts. Fave money staking, it can take a day or more to get through the staking sequence to reach your profit target or your stop loss. So I don't actually want too many tabs active, because I don't want to have tab 4 getting 2 bets a day, for example, and taking a fortnight to get through a staking sequence. It's just madness. 3 tabs is more than enough for this. It handles overflow without being a problem. I'll see how it goes with the amount of bets I'm getting at this size. I might want to reduce the number of tabs. Maybe I increase it by 1. If I increase it, obviously I have to be more careful with watching how the tabs are going and targeting the bets accordingly. Settings all look right, so we'll start that there. Okay, so on to Lay Greybot. So with Lay Greybot, I'm not wanting to clear my staking. I want to continue the staking from where I leave off. So I will stop it and restart it, but I won't clear it. That said, Lay 2 strategy, which I'm not using, I will clear that. Lay 2, as I'm not using it, before I restart the bot, I will just clear that out. I don't need to see those numbers there. Some of the bots do have this unusual little thing where the clear function, it works, the bot thinks there was an error. There wasn't. Goodness knows what that's all about. It worked just fine. Just hit the continue button and it's happy. So I will stop Lay 1, which is the strategy I'm using. Close the bot. Reopen it. And some of the bots do give you, most of the bots will give you that message at some stage. It's a Betfair requirement that certain staking strategies, certain options regarding staking strategies have to be presented with a warning. So the bot will do that when you start the bot or when you activate one of those functions. Say it's a Betfair requirement. I guess a customer protection thing of sorts. So that bot is happy there. Good timing too, because it's 10:59 and first race of the day there, 11:05. So all of that looks right. So we'll start that there. And I didn't untick the 11 o'clock. Thankfully, the bot for the soccer hasn't decided to play with that one. So we'll do Lay Pro football bot as well. Now this one, the start and stop button are combined. So stop, and it turns into a start button. I'm not clearing this. I'm still running the sequence, so we'll just close it, reopen it. This bot is one of the ones where there is two things I need to do after I reopen it, because it doesn't quite pull in every setting when I reopen it sometimes. The Lay Pro 88 football bot does have this one little quirk. It doesn't remember your choice in the selection box. My selection was first favourite for this particular strategy. Everything else is still set correctly. It's just that one thing it didn't remember. The other thing, the window size doesn't allow you to see the full match list here. Not a big deal, but I'd prefer it if I could see it. So if I just expand it out just that little bit, just to there. It's easier if you can hit that. It's easier if you can see the last event in the list. Doesn't make much difference day-to-day usage, but you know, it has its advantages. So we press the start button there, and just check that all of the tabs that I had enabled, disabled are still set the way they were. Yeah, all good. Happy with that. And of course I've got the other bots here as well, so ANZ bots there, Fave Money bot there. And then I make sure I've got everything set accordingly. And I'm back to being able to see at a glance profit stats of all of the bots. So that's most of my routine to keep the bots running as well as they can and to help boost efficiency a bit and to avoid any of those Windows updates just randomly restarting things out of the blue. Hopefully that's of some use to you. I have some links in the description below to the Windows Update blocker and also how to adjust the registry or group policy to manage the updates if you'd rather go that route, and links to the bots that I'm currently actively using as well. So until next time, happy betting.